Hey folks, coming to you with a video update. It's been a few weeks because I was waiting on this week to arrive to give you this particular update, waiting on some things that needed to get decided and voted on by our church session, which happened earlier this week. So I'm standing, you can see here in our church property, right sort of behind the fellowship hall, over near the Eddington building. One of the things, of course, about our church property is the beautiful trees, the live oak trees that we have all surrounding us, but also, especially this time of year, we see the wonderful azaleas as well. And the azalea is my favorite flower, and have, from growing up here down on the Gulf Coast, that's been something that's always brought me joy. Every year it seems like, even though you know that spring comes, it still almost surprises you with the joy and the beauty that pops almost bursting like fireworks from these azaleas. So I thought this would be a pretty good place, thinking about spring and new beginnings, and something that, even though we know it's coming, still brings us great joy and gratitude when it arrives, to talk about an important move that our church session has just voted to make. So we are going to be moving into step 3 of our 4-step plan for returning from COVID. So I'm not going to rehearse all the details of what was in step 1 or 2. Really, here's what you need to know for step 3. We're increasing the capacity for our sanctuary to up to 100 people for worship. That's for Sunday mornings, for weddings, for funerals. That means, I'll get to what that means in a minute. But as we look ahead to Holy Week and Easter services, that's an important move as well. We're going to be more open when it comes to groups meeting at the church, both internal groups like Presbyterian Women or youth group or other internal church gatherings, as well as outside groups that use our church space. We already have some that have continued uninterrupted, like the 2 preschools that are on our campus, the AA group as well. But now in the fellowship hall and the gym, groups of up to 30 people are able to meet. All of this assumes still continued diligent practices of masking and social distancing, but fellowship hall and the gym are both open for larger groups now. We are going to begin allowing, carefully, but allowing food to be served at church events or on the church grounds. For right now, that will have to be food that is individually packaged and only outside. Within our worship life, we're going to begin easing back into monthly practice of communion, the Lord's Supper. Now, we've been doing communion once a month all through this pandemic, but much of it has been online. And so even when we've been in this hybrid model, it's been a little bit awkward with pre-recorded videos that load. It's not been woven into the fabric of the regular worship service. So that's going to begin returning back to something that feels more familiar as well. So all of that to say, this important decision by our church session from the recommendation of our Coronavirus Commission, this comes first of all because we're seeing positive news on the external health data. All along we've tried to not say Spring Hill Pres is just shoot from the hip, making up what do we feel like, is there pressure from this side or pressure from that side to do this or don't do this. We're not into that at all. We are wanting to be guided by the best information out there, by the guidance of local, state, and federal health departments and the CDC, and to seek to come up with plans that are in compliance, but also that follow the best practices. So, because vaccines are on the rise, rates of infection in our county are decreasing, we're in the low risk category, we feel pretty good about making this move. Other churches may have done it a little bit sooner, but that's okay. We're not in a race. We know that we are each called individually as well as each congregation to do what is right for each church, and that's a freedom that we're grateful for. So here's what this means, zoomed out at the biggest picture. I've had the occurrence a number of times actually over the course of the last couple months or so, where I've run into church members out in the community, either grabbing coffee at a coffee shop or just walking the dogs down the street. And folks have said, well, when are we getting back to church? And I know what they're asking and not what they're not asking, and so I want to superimpose, but I think it's important to remind ourselves that we never really took a break from being the church, of course, but even our patterns of in-person worship. All the way back in October, we began having folks able to come to worship. We took a brief pause for the month of January, But other than that, we have continued to allow worship in person. So here now, that just means it's even more open. Even more folks can come. So we've used the term hybrid sometimes, and maybe that confuses people a little bit. What we meant is we're trying to make sure that those who are in person and those who are worshiping online are both treated equally as we think through the patterns and the practices. I hope that that's been helpful, but in case that language is confusing, let me word it a different way. Come to worship in person. If you feel safe doing so, if you're comfortable making that step at this point with what's going on within your own household and within the community, come to worship in person because it's there and we're here and we're worshiping. And at the same time, if you're not yet comfortable coming in person, the online live streaming through both YouTube and Facebook will continue. So maybe that language is a little bit clearer. But anyway, we're excited. This is an important next step, an important move. It comes at a great time within the life of our church family as well. We're just a few weeks away from Holy Week and Easter. And so we'll make a whole nother video about those, but just want to flag a few firsts that will be happening because of this move. So we will have our first time to celebrate the sacrament of the Lord's Supper in person in over a year on Maundy Thursday. We'll have the first opportunity for church members to gather in the chapel. It'll be a little bit different than in the past, but that's going to be on Good Friday. And it'll be the first time that our choir is singing in person together on Easter morning. That'll be, we'll have 2 worship services. You'll hear more about this, but go ahead and put it on your calendar. Sorry, I'm in the parking lot and a car just drove by. 9 o'clock a.m. inside the sanctuary, Easter Sunday worship that will also be live streamed, and 11 o'clock a.m. outdoor Easter Sunday worship where our chancel choir will be leading us in music. So a lot of first and important next steps that are coming as a result of this. Another kind of side effect or piece that happens because of this move to step 3 is a lot of these outdoor activities we've been doing, they will continue. Those that seem to be working really well. We've had great patterns with our Vespers worship services, as well as our Sunday afternoon Blast children's ministry and youth ministry programs. Those are going to be, those programs will wrap up sort of at the end of April and the beginning of May. But right now with this new move, if we're gathered on Sunday night for a Vesper service and it looks like the weather is going to potentially rain it out, that's no longer a threat because we can now move inside. Worship will be able to move inside if need be. Blast and children's ministry will be able to move, sorry, the bells are ringing. Blast and children's ministry and our youth small groups, those will be able to move inside to either the fellowship hall or the gym. So while we'll still try to have some outdoor activities, weather won't prevent those from happening. So we've got the indoor options now a little bit more freely available. If you're part of a group, both within the church or outside the church, that's under 30 people and you'd like to meet in either of those larger spaces, call the church office and get booked on the calendar. Again, I hope that everyone understands this is in no way us being flippant about the need to still be diligent. We'll continue to require masks and safe social distancing and other safety precautions, but with that, we're also able to take this next stride forward, this next step. So we know that we're not at the end of this pandemic, but we also hope that we're closer to the end than we are to the beginning. And so this is some important moves that we're able to make. So a little bit longer video than normal, but come enjoy the beauty of the azaleas and the beauty of our worship life together as a church family. See you in person or online this Sunday and for all the weeks to come. Bye, y'all.